Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will try to observe the 5 minutes. I want to take a moment to thank Chairman Hochberg for his leadership and the Ex-Im Bank's role in supporting so many small businesses seeking to compete successfully in the global market. You know, Ex-Im directly supports 17 small and medium-sized businesses in the 1st Congressional District of Missouri by providing millions of dollars in credit support to businesses that sustain many of the families and communities in my district. Despite the vital role that the bank plays in supporting small businesses, the bank's reauthorization has been held hostage to partisan extremism. I want to reiterate my support for H.R. 1031, the Promoting U.S. Jobs Through Exports Act of 2015, a comprehensive proposal that expands the bank's support for small businesses, enhances its transparency, and reduces the bank's risk to taxpayers. With nearly 250 members of this body lending their support to a renewal of the bank, I remain hopeful that partisan extremism will eventually yield to the overwhelming support for the bank's reauthorization. And just one question for Mr. Hochberg. If Congress fails to reauthorize the Ex-Im Bank, which business sectors would begin to feel the pain first, Mr. Chairman?
I believe first and foremost will be our small businesses in our country. 90% of our customers are small businesses, and they frequently, well, in all cases when they come to us, don't have another option. A number of banks have already said they've begun to curtail their extension of credit to small businesses due to the potential not being reauthorized in July. Another company I would say is there are also a lot of companies in the supply chain. In the State of Missouri itself, I visited a company called LMI in St. Charles. They are a supplier to Gulfstream, Cessna, many companies. They would find an immediate impact because sales would begin to shift towards airplanes made in Canada, airplanes made in Brazil, Europe, Russia, China, and places like that.
So Congress's inaction is having a negative impact on our economy and will do serious damage if we continue down this path.
But we have already gotten some reports from different sectors about that.
Thank you for your response. And, Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to the ranking member from California, Ms. Waters.
Without objection.
Thank you very much. First, let me just commend our witnesses here today on the way that you have conducted yourself despite the attacks that have been thrown at you. You've done a wonderful job. And let me also say, Mr. Hochberg, Mr. Sheets, you have the right to decline on transcribed interviews. And we're not happy with the way that they handle transcribed interviews. They've refused to give us memorandums of understanding. So having said that, let me go to something that I think we need to expand on. Mr. Hochberg, how much has China's export credit agencies financed in the past 2 years versus the U.S. Import Bank?
Well, in the last 2 years, Sinosure alone has done close to $670 billion. The China Ex-Im Bank is not as transparent. It's between $80 or $90 million. And on top of that, you have 2 other Chinese banks that do that same kind of work. In that same period, last year and the year before, we would have done $47 billion.
I'm sorry, would you give us those numbers again?
Sure. China Sinosure, which is their short-term credit insurance, the kind of things we do for our small businesses, has done $670 billion in the last 2 years alone. There's also the China Ex-Im Bank that does, generally speaking, in the $80 to $90 million a year. That's directly from the chairman of that bank. Plus, there are 2 other. There's the China Development Bank and the China Agricultural Bank.
Thank you. And can you talk about the nature and mission of other countries' export credit agencies that allows them to support their industry's exports far beyond what the
With that, the
Ex-Im
gentleman's
Bank
time
does?
has expired.